Welcome to a new section, and in this session we are going to see how to set up a bucket, upload objects into the simple storage service, or commonly called as S3. Alright, S3. Okay, so normally where is the S3 is, so once you logged on to your console home, if you had recently visited, you will see the link here. However, the S3 is located under the services, and once you go under the services, you should go to storage, which is usually the last option. And once you click on storage, you should be seeing all the storage as a service services that is provided by AWS. So we have AWS Backup, EFS, Disaster Recovery, FSX, S3, and Glacier Storage Gateway. So S3 and S3 Glacier go hand in hand. Okay, so S3 Glacier is also built on S3, and S3 uses intelligent tiering to push the infrequently accessed data to the S3 Glacier. Right, we'll come out this part later. So let's talk about S3 now. So S3 is simple storage service. So once I click on it, the S3 dashboard has to open for us. Yes. So once the dashboard has opened, this is pretty much, I have cleared out all the buckets which I had earlier. And because of that, it is pretty clean and neat. All right. So now when you log on to the Amazon S3, you see that it is showing me as global. Okay, it's showing to me as global. The reason why it is showing to me as global is, doesn't mean that S3 is a global service. The S3 name is a unique namespace, meaning that the bucket which you create. So what is a bucket? A bucket is not a directory. First we have to remember that. So bucket is a container which is going to hold the objects. Okay, so that's the way we have to look at it. So it's a simple container holding objects which is referenced by keys. Okay, all right. So now coming back, so this is the name alone is going to be global, meaning let's say when you're going to go and create a Gmail ID. All right, so when you are saying some xyz123.com, and it would say, okay, if nobody else has chosen that username xyz123.com, you will get it. But instead, if somebody is already using that xyz123, it will not be assigned to you, and it will say xyz123 is already used by somebody else. Likewise, here also, the bucket name that you are going to create is very unique for the entire AWS platform. All right. So if somebody is already using that name, then you are not going to get that specific bucket name. All right. Good. All right. So now how are we going to create that? Let's go and see that. Okay. So first, let me go and create the bucket. Okay. So I have 0 buckets here. Let me go and click on create bucket. So the moment I click on create bucket, I get the general configuration here. You can go and give any bucket name to choose, and if the bucket name is already taken, when you are trying to create the bucket at the last step, it will automatically tell you this name is already being used by somebody else, and it's going to ask you to create a new name. All right. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll keep it as test bucket 0001. Okay, I hope nobody has used this. Okay, so now if you watch this very carefully, you see that it is showing as global. The S3 service is showing as global, but the bucket itself, it is asking us where you want to create. So which means that the bucket which you're going to create is going to be based on a region, whereas the entire AWS services, the entire AWS S3 service is a global service. All right. So I leave it in Ohio only. And then the next step is to choose bucket. All right. So what is this choose bucket is, if I want to go and copy the existing settings, ownership, permissions, policies, which is already set on a specific bucket, and if I want to replicate the same settings, then I can go and choose the bucket. And if there is already a bucket which is available there, it will allow us to copy the settings of that bucket. But I don't have any there, so I'm not going to use that. The next step is the object ownership, and it controls ownership of the objects returned to this bucket from other AWS accounts. All right. So ACL is one of the very powerful mechanism which is going to allow or disallow access to your objects within the bucket. All right, we'll see about it in a bit. The next one is the block public access settings for this bucket. By default, you can see that this is checked, which means that all public access is blocked for this particular bucket only. Let's leave it as it is there. Next comes the bucket versioning. Okay, versioning is a way of keeping multiple variants of an object in the same bucket. We have a separate session for this in the coming videos. We will look into that separately. And as usual, the tags, you can go and put in a tag, and I can call it as S3 wall, and I'll call it as demo wall 1. Okay, I'll just leave it as it is. Then the server side encryption, I will leave it as disabled for now. The advanced settings, you have the object lock, which is currently disabled. So what is this object lock? Object lock is a worm model for writing data to your bucket, and once it is written, you have only the read-only access to it. All right, it can be either deleted by you, it can be completely deleted by you. All right, but the others will never get an access to delete it or overwrite that particular data. So this is about the object lock. All right, let's go and check out now. We have set everything. Let's check if there is somebody who is already using test bucket 0001 or not. Let me click on create bucket. Seems like somebody is already using that. Okay, let me change it to 01. Yay, somebody is already using that also. Test bucket 01 is there. Okay, so let's use test bucket -S3. Yay, good. This seems to be a unique name. Okay, so nobody else is using this, so we'll keep it as test bucket -S3. Yay. Or we can call this as S3 demo wall 1. Right, we have this in the tag, right? Demo wall 1. We'll use the same one. Okay, S3 test bucket S3 wall -demo wall 1. All right, we'll use the name. But remember, whatever you have, your company standards or your client standard, please follow that. All right. Okay, object ownership ACL is disabled. Block all public access is enabled. Bucket versioning is disabled. Tags are set. Server side encryption is disabled. Advanced settings are disabled. All right, let's go ahead and create the bucket now. All right, seems to be successful. Successfully created bucket, test bucket S3 wall -demo wall 1. Very nice. All right, so now that we have created the bucket, let's go and add some objects to it. But before adding the objects, let's go and see what are all the permissions, what are all the properties of this particular bucket. So first, having a very basic look here, we can see that this particular volume is located out of US East Ohio. Buckets and objects are not public, which means that it's not going to be accessible to anybody outside this account at the moment. And this is currently showing the creation date. All right, I will leave it as it is now. So let me go and click on it. And now the next step is to upload an object. At the moment, there are 0 objects within this particular bucket. I'm going to go and click on upload. So you have an upload here and you have an upload the other place also. I'll use this one. So I have the drag and drop here option. All right. And the destination currently is showing me S3://test bucket -S3 wall -demo wall 1. Okay, let me just keep it as it is. And you can see here for this particular object which I'm going to be uploading, object or objects, they don't have bucket versioning yet. Default encryption, the server side encryption is disabled. The object lock is also disabled. Then comes the permissions, and at the moment the ACL permissions are set for the object ownership only. And for the properties, very important. So you see here, we can see all the storage classes here. In the previous session on the PPT, I explained to you what are all the different storage classes we have here. You see, we have standard, intelligent tiering, standard 1 IA, which is infrequent access, one zone infrequent access. And you see, we have the glacier also, which is listed here. So that is the reason I said earlier that S3 and glacier go hand in hand. Okay, and just a brief view, which says it's a most frequently accessed data, more than once a month with millisecond access. So it is replicated to greater than or equal to 3 availability zones. So we are putting it in Ohio, and I guess in Ohio there are 3 availability zones. And let me just check it out. Let me duplicate this. I can create a bucket, and when I create a bucket, it's going to show me. Okay, US East 2, AWS Ohio region availability zones. I'm just need to confirm it how many are there. Okay, North America availability zones. Let's see how many are there in Ohio. Yeah, Northern California, Oregon, Ohio. All right, that seems to be 3 availability zones, and it was launched in 2016. All right, so pretty much we should be having. So it should have 3 copies. So one copy in each availability zone is going to be maintained. All right, good. Next, server side encryption. I do not have any encryption key set at the moment. All right, checksums are off. Tag, if I want to set individual tags for the objects, I can still do that, but let's keep it for now, and the metadata also I'll skip it for now. So I have the option to upload. So first step is I'm going to add a file. I'll just add a simple file. I'll just add the AWS logo, which I downloaded from the Google. Right. Let me upload it. So the upload is succeeded, and status succeeded. There are no errors, and it was neat. Right, let me close it now. Now, under the test bucket S3 Vault Demo Vault 1, I have currently one object which is there. Got it. So let me go and have a look at the object, what is there. Now here under the object, you can see the object overview, the region URL. If you notice this, previously it showed us S3://test bucket S3 Vault 1 -demo Vault 1. So this is the path under which the file is stored on the S3. Okay, so that is what it is showing. And the next one is the Amazon resource name. I've explained extensively about the importance of ARN. All right, so please do remember that. And the object URL. But here in the object URL, you see that this is quite more of a domain name based URL. So this object URL is the URL that we can use to go and access the data from outside world, meaning from anywhere in the world you want to access this particular object, you can just try to access it. Let me try to access it now, and it should be showing me as access denied. This is quite expected. All right, let's come back to this in a bit, but before going there, let me go and click on open here. So when I go and click on open, I can see the logo which I uploaded to this particular website, to this particular bucket, and it is displaying correctly for me. But if you have to watch it closely, you see that here also I am having the same link, https://test bucket S3 Vault Demo Vault 1.s3.us east 2-2 Amazon AWS, which is the same as the object URL. But I already told you that the object URL will not work. But following this URL, if you see that, it is having this AMZ security token which is attached to it, because of which we are able to go and see the image. So, but how were we able to see the image was because I tried to access the image or that particular object directly from within my account, right? Because I clicked open from here, I was able to access it. However, if I'm trying to access it without the token, it is going to show me as access denied. All right, so up to now we are quite clear, I hope. The next one is coming and looking at the permissions. We see that the ACL is disabled and it is showing the edit. We don't have the option to edit it here. All right, and we haven't enabled versioning, so it says does not have bucket versioning enabled. Coming back to the properties, now what we want to do is we want to make this object visible from the outside world. How are we going to achieve that? All right, the first step to that is we have to go and download. We have to have this made public using ACL. This has to be enabled for that, but at the moment this doesn't seem to be highlighted. This is not accessible. So I cannot go and access this at the moment. So once we get this option, which means that we can make the object as visible to the outside world. So how am I going to do that? Go to permissions, I need the ACL, right? So to get the ACL enabled, go back to the bucket. Okay, so first go to the bucket, and remember we have already blocked the public access for this particular object, right? That point also needs to be taken into consideration. All right, so bucket properties, storage class, server side tags, object lock, that's good. Then the permissions here and the versions. Now let me go back here, and I want to change the properties of the demo of the bucket itself. So first let me go and check here. Server access logging, event notifications is there, transfer acceleration. We'll go into them later. Yeah, at the moment let's just leave it as it is. Next, let's go to permissions, and here we have the block public access bucket settings. Block all public access is on. Because of this, the first step of blocking access to your assets within the objects within your bucket. Okay, so that's the reason your buckets and objects are not public. So let me go and edit it, and let me uncheck this one, and let me save the changes. So it is going to ask me to confirm the change. All right, let me confirm the change. Good. So now edited block public settings for this particular bucket, and the block all public access is off for this entire bucket. So remember, whatever settings you have set it for the bucket is normally propagated to the components or the objects within that particular bucket also. And likewise, if you want a more granular option also, we have that. All right, but before going there, let's do this. Okay, so the first step was we uncheck that. Let me go back to the object. Let's refresh the object, and let's try to see if it is accessible. It will not be accessible, but let's just test that. Okay, so still the access is denied for us. All right, now the next step is we still don't have this edit option for us. Please be mindful of that. Okay, let me go here, and now the next step is object ownership. So for the object ownership, I first need to enable the ACL. Okay, so you can see here, right? Even for the bucket, it's not enabled. So once I edit it and enable the ACL, I have to acknowledge this. See, AWS has been, AWS is quite progressive on their services. So day by day they keep strengthening their services. Based on the issues that they face, based on the tickets that come in every day, and over a period of time, they implement new changes to their system. All right, so it's always going to be progressive, and you can expect more changes coming in. So this is one of the options which was not there a few years ago, but now you have this more stringent ACL enabling and disabling option. All right, it doesn't mean it wasn't there; it was there, but you didn't have this kind of a granular level. A very minuscule level control was not available there, but now you're getting these kind of controls. All right, so I'm going to click on Save Changes. Good. So I have what I blocked, all public access is switched off, object ownership is enabled, and now you can see that I can edit it. Okay, so I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to edit it, and I'm not going to give the public access at the moment. Let me go to the bucket, and let me check out on the properties of that particular object. Let me try to see if it is accessible now. It is still not going to be accessible. I'm still getting the access denied. Now what I'm going to do is I got to go and click on object actions, and you can see here make public using ACL. So let me go and click on it, and it's going to ask me if I want to make it public. There is only one option here. So when public read access is enabled and not blocked by the public access settings, anyone in the world can access the specified objects as long as they have that particular link. So make public, and it is now successfully edited the public access. All right, let me close it. Let me come back here. Now let's go and review the permissions. All right, and now you see we get the edit option for the access control list, and we also see that the public access is available for the object, but it's only a read-only option. But still, anyway, anybody can view the particular object. And here we have authenticated users group, anyone with an AWS account. Okay, so this allows a specific AWS account only to access the specific object. All right, so let me come back and let's try to access it now. And I am able to access that particular object from anywhere in the world. So this is how the basic permissions of the object are set, and this is how, let's say now I want to go and block the access. It's very simple. What I have to do is I have to go to the permissions, edit the permissions of the particular object, uncheck read, save changes, and if I go back and if I try to access, it's going to take a while, just give it a bit of a time. Once it's set, we should not be able to access. All right. Okay, so that was with the object URL permissions. I have set object owner. Everyone public access has been disabled. All right. Block all public access is off. Access control list, everyone public access is off from the bucket end also. Now the properties of the file, copy link address. Just want to make sure any token is not hung up there, We click on new incognito window, and you see that was what I was seeing was actually coming from the logo that I was actually seeing from here was actually being generated from the cookies. Yeah, so it was already there, so that is why I was able to see. But now when I went and tried to access the same logo, same link from an incognito window, because it's not going to be picking up the cookies there, it is telling me the access has been denied. So a very simple control, a very simple but very effective control of the permissions of who can view and edit the files. You control it. So that's the very basics of the Amazon S3. And thank you very much for watching this session, and I will watch you and we'll meet in the next session. Thank you very much.